So the module for today that I'm going to look at is this mobile data card. It might look modern, but it is quite obsolete from the early 2000s. And this is provided by a mobile operator called Cell C, which stands for Cellular Communications, one of the major telecoms operators in South Africa. And this one was made in 2006, March 18, 2006. Interesting. And it is the technology inside it was made by Novatel Wireless, and this is the model NRM U740. So this is a module that you would take. You would take the SIM card that's provided by the telecoms operator, and you would put it into its slot, and there would be a dedicated slot inside the computer for this to plug in. So this will only be visible, and there would be all types of electronics in here. I want to know what type of electronics there are in here, and we can take a look at them under the microscope. So I'm going to take this apart so that we can see what type of technology is available. Maybe we can have a look at the antenna, some IC names, integrated circuit names, and see how the connections were and how complex and intricate the manufacturing was. So we've taken the module apart. This is the shield, nothing, just plastic and metal. What I did find interesting was these shields that cover over the electronics are very brittle. You can see how the temperature from the hot air station started to melt away. This is very, very soft. Unlike nowadays, where the metal is a bit more rugged and withstands temperature. These are probably to protect the sensitive components on the board from any RF interference or contamination, or to protect it from any static electricity, especially when you're plugging it into the laptop and carrying it around. So, what's interesting is this is our little connector that we saw earlier, which enables us to connect an external antenna for improved radiation power. And this is the antenna that sits in this part of the plastic housing. That's why it's plastic, so that the signal can enter and exit. It's an interesting design. We have the positive coming from here, goes onto this shield. Then the negative is through this strip, and notice how the strip does not touch with the main part, and then it goes back to ground. So this is, I think, like a dipole type of antenna with a different configuration. And now we have a bunch of different integrated circuits. We're going to have to look up these types of numbers. Definitely a lot of passive components, capacitors, resistors, I think voltage regulators or transistors. We have probably a few oscillators, oscillating crystals. I haven't looked at the part numbers yet. This is probably the star of the show, the Qualcomm MSM6275. This is another Qualcomm chip. This is where the SIM card goes. And we have a Texas Instruments IC. I have no idea what that one does. We should actually take a look at these under the microscope. So let's take a look. This is the antenna. And over here, where's my good tweezer? It looks like we have some passive components, capacitor, inductor, probably. This is going to be the positive side of the antenna, and this is going to be the negative side. Looks like there are signs of very old flux. This is the LED to tell us whether it's working or not. Let's see over here. This is probably a timing crystal. What type of IC is this? G11988A. No idea what that does. Let's keep looking. There's that Qualcomm IC we saw earlier. More components. A lot of passive and lot of passive components. This is another IC. This might be a this might be either an oscillator or some type of FET. No idea. Smooth. You can see the ICs lined up. We have some big capacitors. We have a diode right over there. These components might be useful for my next project. I think this is some type of a flash memory. No idea. Resistor. This is the connector. I'm not even going to count how many pins the connector is because these are plenty. And what's nice is that these are actually gold plated to make an optimal connection.